Big tropical sky here in Texas, and it's starting to get a little active out in the Gulf. Let's take a look at the visible satellite picture. And we've got Tropical Storm Hanna out there, about 125 miles southeast of Galveston. And there it is. It kind of resembles an eye, doesn't it? Kind of right there. But if we look at the infrared imagery, it's still pretty much just a large congested area of cumulonimbus. And the center of the circulation located about right there. And it is not quite closed off yet. The current numbers are showing 45 knot winds with pressure of 999 millibars, so it's dropped about 9 millibars since yesterday. And let's look at that forecast track. We're expecting that to remain a tropical storm all the way in to the Corpus Christi area. It looks like maybe slightly south of Corpus Christi, and then it will head into Old Mexico, where it'll weaken into a tropical depression. So we're expecting that to come up to 55 knots there, about 12Z. That'll be tomorrow morning as it approaches the coast. Then it will move inland and dissipate. And that's going to be well south of San Antonio, so there shouldn't be a whole lot of impact from this. However, the rain, yeah, that'll be an issue. 10 knots coming inland and then widespread, 6 to 10 inches south of Corpus Christi. But that whole area in there between Corpus Christi and the Rio Grande Valley is pretty desolate. Only a few towns in there, so I think that's probably as good as you can hope for in a tropical cyclone situation. Well, to start out with, here's our current radar. Got one line of showers moving into southern Georgia and South Carolina. Got this other line from about Jackson, Mississippi down to Lufkin, Texas there. That's spreading rapidly northward, and that's partly associated with Hanna offshore. Also, the monsoon active in the southwest right there, all the way up to Idaho. So we're going to see that on the visible imagery, and that's about it. Fairly quiet up north, just not much going on due to high pressure. There's the southwestern U.S. We're going to come back to Texas and Hanna in a little bit. The southeast sector picks up on that a little bit better. Anyway, maybe one segment of the dry line there around Stratford, Texas. And as you can see, it loses definition because the southwest monsoon is in full effect. Lots of activity in the southern Rockies, and even up to Utah, they're getting some activity. And there's the weather map. Not a whole lot to see there. You can see the dew point there in Phoenix up to 60 degrees still, even 66 at Kingman, and I suspect Las Vegas only at 42 is probably going to come up over the next couple of days. The San Joaquin Valley, pretty hot. Lots of 90s through that area, and even 96 up at Red Bluff. Things have quieted down in the northwest U.S., but we've got this Canadian system up there in Saskatchewan and Alberta. Plenty of moisture up in Manitoba, and they're getting some thunderstorm activity in that region. And it looks like maybe an outflow boundary out there northeast of Winnipeg. Moisture all the way from Pierre, South Dakota up into North Dakota, and there's the dry line around the Rapid City area, and possibly we could bring that dry line further up into Saskatchewan, kind of like that, maybe to a triple point out there near Moose Jaw. And that's about it in that area. Plenty of moisture out in the Midwest, but not a whole lot going on. And there's our satellite picture indicative of fast flow aloft. You can see those clouds streaming towards the northeast and picking up a little bit of shear on those anvils in the Great Basin region. Some thunderstorms are going up along the dry line just east of Rapid City there, so possibly Pierre, maybe seeing some storms later this afternoon. And I haven't looked at SPC yet, but I would imagine there's probably an enhanced or slight risk for that area. And looks like also a few cells trying to go up there around Burlington, Colorado. Might as well take a look at Canada. There's Manitoba and northwest Ontario. Looks like some pretty good towers out there. This is going to be way north of the Trans-Canada Highway, so probably not really bothering anybody. Those anvils aren't particularly large, so there's probably not a whole lot going on. But this area out here, very moist and warm air mass all the way up to Hudson Bay. A quiet Friday evening in the northeast. Just a few showers out there in the higher terrain of Pennsylvania. But as you go down to Washington, D.C., we're picking up some clusters of thunderstorms out there in Virginia. And looks like another area of thunderstorms around the Wilmington, Delaware area. This is probably heading into Delaware proper. And that appears to be associated with this weak frontal system there, centered around the Washington, D.C. area. And you can see the mid-80s to the north with 90-degree readings south of that and 70s dew points. Up to the north, the Great Lakes high. Can't forget the high-pressure areas. That marks the center of an air mass. And this is kind of a mild, it's not a cold air mass, but it's kind of a mild, sort of dry air mass. You can see the dew points in that region in the 50s. So when you go to the GFS, you can use that to mark the distinction of air masses. You can trace out kind of a warm front right there, maybe from, let's see, that'd be south of the Quad Cities up towards western Minnesota. Does that show up on the surface chart? Well, not really. Looks like the air mass is pretty much the same on either side. However, if you run across a situation where you're expecting a warm front, definitely head to those dew point charts on the model output. And there's our map of the southeastern U.S. showing the tropical storm out there southeast of Galveston and a couple of the little spiral bands making their way across Louisiana. There's that outflow there moving out of Florida. We're going to see that in just a second. And it appears we have a little disturbed area of low pressure just west of Atlanta. That's a feature that's kind of been there for the past couple of days, maybe caused by some of the thunderstorm activity in that area. And there's our look at the southeastern U.S. this afternoon. You can see that dramatic line of showers moving up from Jackson to almost to Shreveport and right across the Lufkin area. That's all tropical activity, probably loosely associated with that tropical storm down there. This looks a little bit more like an easterly wave, kind of a sea breeze outflow feature to me. And let's see, there's this other boundary heading into northeastern Georgia. Very summer-like altogether. And by looking at the cumulus field, you can look at the cloud streets and kind of get an idea how the winds are oriented across the southeastern states. So a quick look at what we can expect over the next week. Well, there's the Bermuda High. There's our tropical storm moving inland into Texas. And then we've got this other frontal system in Alberta, which will be moving eastward. So we'll roll that forward, heading into tonight. Yep, there's the landfall early tomorrow morning. New system heading into the Dakotas right there. Pretty good push of cold air. Part of this ridge going all the way back to British Columbia, and that means a lot of cold air advection in Montana and Oregon. The warm sector will be moving up into Manitoba and Ontario, so it looks like another warm day there on the Hudson Bay shores. And then out east, things will be dominated by this big high-pressure area. That's part of that dry high that we were talking about earlier. A little bit of northerly flow through Ohio and Pennsylvania. However, this is all embedded in that big Bermuda high, so we will continue to bring in the moisture from the southeast. Then for Sunday, that big tropical storm goes inland. The effects will mostly hit Monterrey, Mexico. That'll be well south of Texas. Here comes that cold front into the Dakotas there. A few storms along that in Minnesota all the way down to Sioux City. Warm front up near the Hudson Bay region, and just kind of a boring, stagnant pattern. A few showers here and there. And let's see what happens early next week. Any big changes? Looks like a lot of moisture down there on the Gulf Coast. And we'll just kind of page this up until a week from now. Yeah, looks like more of the same. So we got another several weeks of this before we start picking up a lot of the fall patterns. This time of year, we do want to look at the precipitable water. You can see how much moisture that tropical storm's bringing in. That's amounts up over 3 inches. And in behind it, pretty dramatic moisture surge coming into Louisiana and Texas. And then going forward through Sunday and Monday, a couple moisture surges coming up into Texas and Louisiana. There's a pretty good one around Tuesday or Wednesday. So we're going to see possibly the chances of rain going up in Texas. Some of that moisture making its way up into Illinois and Wisconsin for late next week. And more moisture continues working its way into Texas. So let's go to the upper level charts. That's going to be the other piece of the picture. 200 millibar heights and wind. That's going to be up at about 39,000 feet. Subtropical high right over the Texas Panhandle. Kind of a double bubble thing. There's the high right there. And the tropical storm sliding right underneath that. So going forward into early next week, looks like that high shifts up into the Kansas City area. Another segment all the way back to the Texas Big Bend. So that'll put Arkansas, Texas under northerly flow. And that flow will be about 30 to 40 knots. So any storms that go up in this regime, they will be sheared and have some upper level support. So we're looking at Sunday here. And then just going up into midweek. Looks like that high kind of stays put over Oklahoma all the way back to West Texas. And we've got this little upper level low across San Antonio. So this whole area will be a little bit cool aloft, and that'll support continued rain chances. And let's see, around Friday, about a week from now, high over Alabama, high over Arizona. And up to the north, series of progressive systems moving across the northern tier states. And that's all for our Friday edition of the webcast. Hope you all enjoyed it. We will be back again on Tuesday, unless you're a supporter, and then we'll be back on Monday. Take care, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.